Welcome to Protect, Suicide Prevention Training Podcast for healthcare professionals. I'm Manaan, consultant psychiatrist, founder, and head of faculty at Progress Guide.
Hi everyone, it's Mahi, your Protect podcast host. Today is episode 55. So Manaan, what have you been up to? I think September has been quite a busy month, right? With World Suicide Prevention Day on 10th September and Are You OK Day on Thursday, 12th September. So I understand you've been talking nonstop.
I think you guessed right. So as my colleagues say, I can even talk to a wall. So it's been kind of one thing after another. So of course, the biggest event was the US Suicide Prevention Summit, which was, I think, about 2,500 people who attended that online. And then I got a report back that the video has been watched by 1,000 odd people. So that was quite a big event. Also did the Malaysian Suicide Prevention Summit, where we launched The Living Oak. So it's a book about life-affirming care. So I should make a podcast about the book itself. We've had quite a few releases over the month of September. The Global Youth Mental Health Awareness Masterclass as well, which was targeted for Africa, did the King's College London training. So it's been one thing after another. And not to mention, we did 3 amazing podcasts. So if our listeners haven't listened to those podcasts, one of them was with John Bell, who lost his son Jake, Caroline Roodhouse, who lost her husband, and then another amazing episode with Stan Steinwell, who spoke about self-compassion and how self-compassion is so important for people working in mental health so that they can maintain their sanity in a workplace, which can often be like a pressure cooker. So yeah, lots and lots of work done in September.
So September's coming to an end and October is another big month. So 10th of October is World Mental Health Day. We come together to raise awareness, break the silence, and fight the stigma surrounding mental health. This day serves as a reminder that mental well-being is just as important as physical health, and that no one should walk their journey alone.
And this year's theme is about mental health in the workplace. But, I think in every day, mental health challenges affect millions worldwide, yet too often they remain hidden behind shame and misunderstanding, as you were saying. So let's change that narrative by fostering open conversations, offering support, and practicing empathy. Whether you are a professional in the field, a family member, or someone experiencing mental health struggles yourself, your voice matters in creating a world where everyone feels heard, valued, and supported.
This World Mental Health Day, let's champion the power of connection, education, and hope. Building a future where mental health care is accessible and understood by all. Together, we can make a difference. And to celebrate this World Mental Health Day, we are releasing Sunny's Value Scouts.
Yay!
And this episode is going to be about living a richer, fuller, and more meaningful life using the power of values. And this builds on the HOPE framework and the work we have been doing on the Safe Life Guide. So Manaan, I have been doing my homework and I have a bunch of tough questions for you today, which I believe our listeners will be keen to hear about.
Well, firstly, you should have done a drum roll before saying Sunny's Value
I
Scout.
should have.
Yeah. Because, I started writing those books in 2006 when you were born around that time. It's about 10, 12 years late, but it's here. So so it's quite a big deal. And tough questions. Well, go ahead. I am ready for what you have got on the menu today.
So share with our listeners what Sunny's Value Scouts is about.
So I'm assuming our listeners would have been exposed to the HOPE framework, right? So it's acceptance and commitment therapy-based framework, which essentially helps people live their lives using the power of values, live a richer, more fulfilling, more meaningful life, a life that is meaningful to them using their core values. And Sunny's Value Scouts builds on that particular notion. So essentially, it's a series of 20 books, right? We have 6 of them are already on Amazon. They use an animal character, a golden retriever called Sunny. you can imagine, 6 months old golden retriever, or say 2 years old. You can take your pick.
Mhm.
I think the pictures, the illustrations would look like a 6 month old golden retriever. And in each book, there are 5 stories. Each story relates to a core value. And Sunny is living the value through adventures that he has in this magical, mystical place called Terra Vale. And he teams up with a particular character for the entire book.
Okay.
So like in the first book, we have Penny the penguin. In the second book, we have Leo the lion, right? So it kind of goes on like that. So there's a principal character with which Sunny teams up. And then Sunny and this principal character, like Penny the penguin, and the first book is all about belonging, is having adventures with other animal characters, one more character for each and every value that Sunny is getting to live and to learn about. And then these values are related to 2 characters, and these adventures then relate back to 2 young characters, a 6-year-old girl called Lily and a 7-year-old boy called Tommy, who are in the human world Sunny's brother and sister, so as to say. And we are relating what happens in Terra Vale and Sunny's reflections on, oh, this is what Tommy does. Oh, this is what Lily does, which brings the values to life through adventures, through kind of the natural world. And you have to read it to believe it. It's a beautiful sequence of stories. As I mentioned, 6 of the 20 are done and are out on Amazon. My goal would be to get at least 10 done by World Mental Health Day. As I said, I've been writing them for 20 years. And hopefully by Christmas, the entire series would be on Amazon. That's the goal, unless I get distracted by some other project that takes me up. But it's a really creative, fun, exciting project, which, has been going on for the last 19 years or so. Well, your age, really. Yeah. While we have been working on this and embellishing these stories, and finally it's coming to fruition. So 2 decades of work out on Amazon for our readers. And I hope to be doing a fair few podcast episodes on these books, because I've got a great lineup of speakers as well. And every time I have the opportunity to squeeze in one of our contents, I want to kind of target a particular book and cover the content of the book in that particular episode. We'll see how we go.
And I'm sure our listeners would love to hear that as well.
Yeah.
So what led you to create the Sunny's Value Scout series, and how does it connect to your work in mental health and suicide prevention?
Well, Sunny's Value Scouts was born out of my deep belief that instilling values in children from a young age creates a foundation of lifelong resilience. In my work as a psychiatrist, I have seen firsthand how emotional struggles often stem from a lack of coping skills and emotional awareness in youth. Over the years, the rise in mental illness and suicidality in teens has been alarming. It's something that really bugs me, that the rates are increasing and we keep doing the same and expect a different result. By targeting children aged 5 to 8, Sunny's Value Scouts offers them a lexicon of values like responsibility, perseverance, kindness, giving them tools to navigate life's challenges and build emotional strength from a young age.
You've mentioned that the series is aimed at 5 to 8-year-olds. So why is this age group so critical when it comes to developing values and resilience?
Well, children in the 5 to 8 age group are at a pivotal developmental stage. Their brains are incredibly plastic, meaning they're open to forming new connections, developing habits, learning from the environment. That's why they ask a million questions, right? This is when they begin to understand concepts like fairness, responsibility, and self-reliance. And it's also when they start modeling behavior based on what they see and hear from adults. If we can introduce them to core values in a way that resonates with their day-to-day life. We can nurture resilience early on. It's at this age that they form the building blocks of emotional intelligence, which can help them face challenges with a strong sense of self-worth and confidence.
So, how does the series aim to address the rising mental health challenges and suicidality that we're seeing in teens today? Can you share some stats?
Okay, so there is a real urgency around this matter because there's disturbing trends across the world when it comes to youth mental health. In the UK, the rate of children experiencing mental health issues has risen to 1 in 6. That's a huge number. So if you have 5 friends and if they haven't got a mental health issue, most probably you have, right? That's how it's worrying. In the US, suicide rates among teens have increased by 56% over the past decade. Australia is facing similar challenges, with suicide being the leading cause of death for young people aged 15 to 24. Leading cause of death. These statistics should be a wake-up call. And as I said, we kind of keep doing the same and expect a different outcome. That's the very definition of madness, right? So by creating Sunny's Value Scouts, I aim to offer early intervention by equipping children with a strong sense of self, values, and emotional coping skills that can serve as protective factors later in life. Building resilience early may prevent the kinds of mental health crises that we see in teens.
Resilience is a key theme of Sunny's Value Scouts. So how does teaching children values like responsibility, self-reliance, and perseverance contribute to building resilience?
So resilience is not just about bouncing back from failure. It's about having the internal tools to manage challenges, setbacks, and stress in a healthy way. Values like responsibility help children understand that they have control over their actions and outcomes. Suicidality, we talk about how people feel helpless. The locus of control is outside them. Self-reliance teaches them that they can solve problems independently, boosting their confidence. Perseverance, one of the core themes, instills the idea that even when things are hard, pushing through and not giving up is crucial. These values provide a roadmap for children to approach difficulties with a sense of purpose and strength, which is the essence of resilience.
Can you explain why animals were chosen as the characters to teach these values? And how did you go about selecting specific animals for each value?
Well, I am smitten by animals, as you know. So we did the line within in 2000...
16?
Around that time, 2016.
Yeah.
The line within. Dr. Zahur Saeed was the one who planted the idea of the lion being depressed in my head. And then we went on to make the line within. And we're actually working on a whole series of conditions where animals have mental health conditions. But let's not digress. So, sorry, what was your question again? So,
can you explain why the animals were chosen as the characters?
Oh, yeah. And and how do I go about selecting specific animals for each value? So, firstly, children naturally connect with animals. Animals embody traits that are easy for children to understand, making complex concepts like discipline or accountability more accessible. For example, Benny the beaver represents responsibility because beavers are known for their industrious nature and the care they take in building dams. Each animal is carefully selected to align with the value it teaches. A horse like Hilda, for instance, exemplifies discipline through the steady, strong effort required in her tasks. By using animals, we make these values relatable, fun, and engaging for young readers who can visualize the traits these animals represent.
Okay, so we have the animals and we have the very rich narrative of nature. So what role does that play in these stories? And why is the setting of Terra Vale and its natural features important to how the lessons are taught?
So nature, particularly the setting of Terra Vale, plays a symbolic role in the series. The changing landscape, whether it's the Silverbark River, the lush forests, The whispering meadows, moonlight falls, they represent the different phases of growth, much like how children themselves grow and adapt. Each geographical feature reflects the values being taught. Rivers represent flow and change. Forests symbolize resilience, and mountains embody challenges. Nature is also calming and grounding, providing a backdrop that reminds readers of the interconnectedness of all things. Teaching values in a natural setting encourages children to respect the world around them and see their personal growth mirrored in the natural world.
Okay, so you've designed each story to reflect a specific value.
Mm-hmm.
So, how does Sunny's Value Scouts explore these values in ways that are relatable to everyday challenges faced by young children?
So each story, as I mentioned in Sunny's Value Scouts, takes a value and ties it to common childhood experiences. For example, responsibility is shown through things like Tommy and Lily cleaning up after themselves or organizing their toys. Perseverance is taught when Sunny reflects on Tommy's struggles to learn to ride a bike without training wheels. These are all situations that children can relate to in their daily lives. By embedding values in stories that mirror their own experiences, the children learn how to apply these lessons to their world, whether that's at school, during playtime, or with their family.
So you've mentioned earlier that mental health is a growing concern for children, and you said emotional intelligence might be a way to battle that. So how does Sunny's Value Scouts prevent mental health struggles in later life?
So emotional intelligence is about recognizing and managing our emotions, right? As well as understanding how our actions affect others. Sunny's Value Scout supports emotional intelligence by giving children a framework to reflect on their emotions and behaviors. You'll find that each story begins with morning reflections on the previous day and then end of day reflections, so reflections under the stars, as it's said in the stories. So the conversation prompts that are provided at the end of each story as well for parents, for teachers, they encourage children to talk about how they feel, what they think, and how they react to certain situations. This not only builds self-awareness, but also helps children empathize with others. By starting this emotional education early, we help children develop the ability to process feelings like frustration, sadness, disappointment in a healthy way, potentially reducing anxiety, depression, and emotional dysregulation as they grow.
As I've been working on the storylines and the illustrations, I know that many of the characters face challenges during their adventures. So why do you think it's important for children to see that even animals, and by extension themselves, can struggle but still succeed?
Well, it's critical for children to understand that everyone, even the characters they admire, face challenges, right? This normalizes struggle and failure as part of the learning process. When animals like Farhan the falcon or Hilda the horse struggle but keep trying, children see that setbacks are not a reflection of their worth, but opportunities to grow. The stories show that success often comes through perseverance and effort, not through perfection or immediate achievement. This helps children build a mindset that they can succeed too, even when things get difficult.
So let's talk about the structure of the books. How do the stories, conversation prompts, and reflections at the end of each chapter, like you said, help parents and teachers use these stories to support values-based discussions?
So I just hinted at the structure earlier on, kind of morning reflection and reflection under the stars. The structure of each book is designed to be a resource for parents, teachers, caregivers, even older siblings, nannies, anyone who reads them out as bedtime stories, say, for example, to children. After each story, the questions and prompts are given right at the end of the book, but for each story, there are conversation prompts that encourage adults to ask open-ended questions, helping children reflect on the value they have learned. These prompts make the values tangible by linking them to real-life scenarios, like asking the child how they can show responsibility at home or why it's important to be accountable at school. The reflections at the end offer a moment of calm and contemplation, allowing children to digest the lesson and think about how they can apply it. This structured approach provides a gentle way for adults to start meaningful conversations that reinforce the value.
I would love to hear an example from one of the books where Sunny or one of the other animal characters learns a valuable lesson. And how does this connect to a child's life?
So I think I already mentioned Benny the Beaver, right? So it's one of my favorite examples. So Benny the Beaver teaches Sunny about responsibility. Benny works hard to build his dam, but it's not just about completing the task. It's about taking responsibility for his environment, ensuring that the river flows smoothly for the benefit of all the animals, and how they leave gaps in the dam so that fish can go through the dam. This mirrors how a child might take responsibility for their chores, keeping their room tidy or helping set the dinner table, work with responsibility and how it impacts everyone else. By doing so, they are not just following rules, they are contributing to the well-being of their home and learning the value of personal responsibility.
As you said, Benny the Beaver teaches responsibility and Hilda the Horse teaches discipline. How do these specific values help children cope with pressures like schoolwork or social challenges?
So values like responsibility and discipline are directly applicable to the pressures children face, such as keeping up with schoolwork or navigating friendships. By the way, these are just two random values of the 100 values that we are covering. So responsibility teaches children to own their actions, whether that's completing homework on time or even a simple thing like apologizing when they have hurt someone else's feelings. Discipline, on the other hand, helps children stay focused on long-term goals, whether it's practicing for a sport or learning to read. Both values help children develop resilience in the face of challenges by showing them that consistency, effort, and ownership of their actions lead to growth and success even when things are hard.
I know many of the characters in the series face tough decisions or challenges. How do these stories help children develop the courage to face difficult emotions or setbacks in their own lives?
Gosh, you're really making me work hard on this podcast. So when children see characters like Sunny or Freddy the Fox struggle with tough decisions, they learn that facing difficult emotions is not something to be afraid of. For example, in the story where Sunny learns about accountability, he faces a situation where he has to admit he was wrong. That's not easy, and the story acknowledges that. It shows the discomfort, but it also shows the relief and growth that comes afterward. By giving children examples of characters facing and overcoming challenges, the stories help demystify difficult emotions and show that courage doesn't mean not feeling fear. It means moving forward despite it.
And what feedback have you received from parents, teachers, or even children themselves about how these stories have impacted them?
Well, it's early days, so it's all kind of close friends and friends of friends and family that I've been distributing them to, colleagues, and the feedback has been incredibly heartwarming. Parents have shared stories about how their children have started using the language of the books in everyday life. One parent mentioned that their child now talks about being accountable, which is quite funny from a 7-year-old. But when they forgot to do their chores, and they sometimes use the language back to their parents as well. I've had a teacher tell me about sharing this work in a classroom, sparking conversations about values that go beyond the stories themselves. And, children, they love Sunny. He is absolutely adorable and cute. They connect with him as a guide and a friend, which is exactly what I'd hoped for.
And you often mention that parents and teachers should guide children through their stories. So what advice would you give to adults trying to have these values-based conversations?
So my advice to parents and teachers is to approach these conversations with curiosity and openness. instead of leading with judgment. So don't do something like, why didn't you clean your room like Benny the Beaver would? Try asking the question that encourages reflection, like, how do you think Benny felt when he finished his dam? How did you feel when you completed your homework today? The goal is to create a safe space for children to explore their thoughts and feelings, linking them to the values in the story. It's also important to model these values yourself. Otherwise, your children will start picking you out, calling you out. So children learn best by observing the adults in their lives, their role models.
And does Sunny's journey through Terra Vale parallel the growth and learning of a child?
Absolutely. That's the point. So Sunny's journey mirrors the child's journey of self-discovery and learning. Just as Sunny encounters new challenges, meets wise animal guides, and learns values that shape his character, children are also navigating their own world, trying to figure out who they are, how to manage their emotions, how to interact with others. Sunny's experiences in Terra Vale are designed to reflect the everyday struggles and triumphs of children, making him a relatable character that grows alongside them.
At the beginning, you stated some stats about the rising rates of youth suicidality around the globe. So how can a series like Sunny's Value Scouts provide early interventions that build protective factors against mental health struggles?
That's actually a really good question. So Sunny's Value Scouts helps build protective factors by introducing children to core values, as I mentioned, emotional regulation, self-reliance, resilience. These are foundational skills for mental well-being. Research shows that children who have strong coping skills and a sense of purpose are less likely to experience depression or anxiety later in life. That's why in the HOPE framework, we underpin all life goals, people, and pursuit with values. By giving children a values-based lexicon early on, the series equips them with the tools to navigate emotional challenges, foster strong relationships, and develop a sense of agency, all of which can prevent mental health struggles from escalating in adolescence.
Okay, so I can see that happening in an individual family, but talking about schools and communities, what role do you think Sunny's Value Scouts can play in building a values-based approach to education and emotional development?
So I believe Sunny's Value Scouts can be a powerful tool in schools and communities as a whole. By integrating values-based storytelling into classrooms, educators can create a more holistic learning environment, one that prioritizes emotional intelligence alongside the academics. Communities can also use these stories in youth programs to spark discussions around resilience, accountability, self-care. The series can be woven into the curriculum or extracurricular programs, fostering an entire ecosystem where children are constantly encouraged to reflect on their values and how they impact themselves and others, pastors, mentors, older age children who set the role model, prefects in schools. They can all use this language.
And finally, Manaan, what do you hope children and their families will take away from Sunny's Value Scouts?
So at its core, I really do hope, Sunny's Value Scouts becomes a beloved guide for children and their families. I want children to walk away feeling empowered, knowing that they have the tools within them to face life's challenges with resilience, responsibility, and compassion. For families, I hope these stories create moments of meaningful conversation where values become a natural part of their everyday language. This will bring the HOPE framework in Safe Life Guide to life for families. Ultimately, I want children to see that by living according to these values, they can shape their own future in positive, intentional, mindful ways, becoming strong, compassionate, and capable individuals. That is my hope, my desire, my aspiration from Sunny's Value Scouts.
And that's my 20 questions done.
Well, that's a lot of questions you put together. But a shameless plug, get the word out there about Sunny's Value Scouts. Everyone has a role to play. World Mental Health Day is coming up. Please share this podcast with colleagues, neighbors, friends, families. If you're thinking about Christmas, this would be a wonderful gift to give to your nephews and nieces, your grandchildren, if you have got young children as well. It could be something to interact over, bedtime stories. So, and you know what? We are really keen to keep Safe Life Guide free for all our end users, people with living with mental health challenges, and every little helps to kind of keeping Safe Life Guide free, and that will help us. So it's a genuine plea to everyone to get the word out there for Sunny's Value Scouts. Unless there is someone who works for Disney to get us a Netflix contract.
That would be great.
That would be great. That will kind of ensure the future of Safe Life Guide for good. If anyone can connect us to that, we should make it. We should make it the closing line or the opening line for every single podcast episode we do on Sunny's Value Scout. So to say, right, who is connected to Netflix and can get us a contract there for the entire series? Because I do believe it is absolutely.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and I hope you enjoy Sunny's Value Scouts. They are all available on Amazon, and please spread the word.